All right, everybody, good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started on this amazing Thursday and last ancient history class of the week. Today, you should have your Athens and Sparta notes that we started on Tuesday of this week, and we are going to finish in the Sparta side of those. So if you guys want to take a look at the screen, it tells you exactly everything that you need for today and the objectives. So today we're going to be looking at the daily life of Athenian and Spartan society. Tuesday was Athens, today is Sparta. So we're going to be kind of putting those together today. And we will compare and contrast the ways of life. So as we go through our session today, we are going to be comparing and contrasting what we learned Tuesday from what we are learning today about Sparta. So again, welcome. I have some special guests to share with you guys today. And I'm so excited. This kind of worked out in a really cool way that all of these people that you're going to be hearing from today are from my third period. So really quick shout out to my third period people. Give me some applause if you're in my third period. Give me some applause, just in general, because we all need that. So I'm super excited to introduce today Evan and Juliana as our class assistants today. So Juliana, I'm going to have you start. What do you expect from your classmates today?
Just listen and just write down everything you need, I guess.
Yeah, that's great advice, Juliana. Thank you. And we're glad to have you here today. Evan, what about you? What do you think your classmates need to do today? What are your expectations?
I expect everybody to be in their best behavior and write every single thing for their notes so they can have as much knowledge as they can on this topic today.
Yes, that is great advice, because on Monday, I've kind of worked it out where we are going to kind of do our first Zoom debate. And I'm going to talk about that a little later today. And you definitely will need to pay attention today, because by the end of class today, I'm going to have you guys choose which one you're kind of leaning towards. And so I need that information. So really paying attention today is going to really help us focus in and actually pick a side that we want to be on. With that said, I am also very excited to introduce you guys to Bella today. Again, from my third period. It did not happen like this. It's just the cool coincidence that life brings. So Bella, good morning. How are you today?
Good.
Good. I'm so excited to have you share our words of positivity today. So whenever you're ready, I would love to hear what your beautiful statement is today. What you got?
Well, I'm going to start with the question about the quote. It's from one of the ancient cities of Mesopotamia.
Hey.
So if one of you assistants know which one it is, tell me.
Okay.
Okay.
Go for it, Bella.
Well, there is no shame in not knowing the shame. I accidentally messed it up.
Okay, start over.
There's no shame in not knowing. The shame lies in not finding out.
Oh, yeah. So that helps us kind of delve more into learning about something, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Bella. And today I hope that we all delve into something and learn something new today. So thank you so much for that quote. And third period represent. I got my bracelet on from my third period. So yay. And shout out to the Hominals too. I got my Hominal shirt, my yellow earrings. So really, really feeling it today with you guys. So good morning. I hope we have a great day today. So I'm going to go ahead and switch it to Edsby like we've been doing, just to kind of show you guys what has been going on with our Edsby and what we're doing today. So if you guys haven't checked Edsby yet, everything for our lesson is up. So our objectives that you just saw on the PowerPoint are there, as well as everything to do today after the lesson. So we do have a part 2 IXL skill today that you'll do a little bit later. You guys are here for the live lesson, and if you're tuning in after hours on YouTube, shout out to you guys right now. So some of us tune in later. And then the PowerPoint that we're going to be working with is here. It's posted right down here. So I heard some people say, I lost my notes, everything's gone. Guess what? The PowerPoint's there and it has everything. So you can go and refill everything out. So don't feel like you always lost, because you can always go back to the PowerPoint right here, okay? There is some work to do today. It's not a lot, and I'm actually gonna give you guys some points for it. Basically, it's today, by the end of the day, just sending me a message, what city-state you prefer with 2 reasons why, and then that'll help me divide you guys out into your debate groups. I know it's kind of like, how are we gonna do this, Miss Kara? But we'll figure it out. I have a little way. So as long as I get that from you guys today, it'll be a lot easier for me to divide you guys up on Monday. So send me a little message today. Don't do it now, because we haven't talked about Sparta yet, guys. Your minds might change. So wait till the end of the lesson to do that. So that's our EDSI little stuff for today. Thank you for taking a look at that with me. And then we're gonna go ahead and switch it to the agenda. So you guys know kind of the order of stuff today. I have a really fun way to introduce Sparta today, and I'm really excited. I hope you guys enjoy it too. Thanks again, Evan and Juliana and Bella, 3rd period shout out, Dream Team, for being here today. We're gonna do some notes on Sparta. At the end, we're gonna kind of discuss where we're thinking for the city-states, Athens, Sparta. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna hear our classmates' opinions, and then we're gonna do a little independent work send-off for you guys, so you know what is expected of you at the end of this lesson. So thank you guys for that. Evan, Juliana, anything that you can think of to say before we get started?
Yes, I got something.
Go for it.
Okay, I made this up and you're just gonna have to try and figure it out. The dragon spit wisdom on your refrigerator for a reason.
Ooh.
Now go find out that reason. Thank you.
Ooh, that's good. That's sounds like a quest, which sounds wonderful. So great. Thank you for that. Juliana, anything from you, or just kind of ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So I don't know about you guys. I like Sparta. I like Athens. I like them both. But this next thing I'm about to show you really just pumps me up for learning about Sparta. And I'm going to show it to you. So take a moment, get comfy. This is just about like a 2-minute clip. And it always gets me super duper pumped for Sparta. So enjoy, guys.
Ooh.
That's a bit of a problem. See, rumor has it, the Athenians have already turned you down. And if those philosophers and boy lovers have found that kind of nerve, then we must be diplomatic. And of course, Spartans have their reputation to consider.
Choose your next words carefully, Your Highness. They may be your last as king.
For a madman. Air and water. But you'll find plenty of both down there. No man, Persian or Greek, no man threatens a messenger. You bring the crowns and heads of conquered kings to my city steps. You insult my queen. You threaten my people with slavery and death. Like Chosen my words carefully, Persian. Perhaps you should have done the same. This is blasphemy. This is madness. This is Sparta!
Yay, this is Sparta. Yay. Hopefully you guys saw that. That's one of my favorite scenes in that movie. It just gets me so pumped up to just learn. Real quick before we start the notes, did anybody notice anything about Sparta, just about the scene that they saw that's different than Athens? I'm so sorry if it was laggy or glitchy. I'll post the clip later and you guys can watch it again. Did anybody just notice anything from the scene that was like, what? They don't do that in Athens? That's kind of cool. Yeah, Rochelle, that was great. They have a queen. The women were out of the home, like they were seen by everyone. So that's definitely different. We might know that women's rights might be a little different here. So that's a great message there. Evan or Juliana, anything different that you noticed?
I don't know. I'm looking through my notes.
Well, I have something.
Yeah.
So they had a queen, or like a queen, and not, or yeah, that's what I got. I thought, and not like like a, I forgot what it was. Monarchy or something.
Democracy.
A monarchy?
Well, like, yeah, they had a queen instead of like a monarchy, and they didn't, and it was just like, it was one person, I guess, and instead of like all the democracy and the group of people and tyranny and all that.
Yeah, so you definitely heard King Leonidas, who that character was, talk about like my queen. So we know that there's kings and queens in Sparta, and we also know that he acknowledged his wife, whereas in Athens he'd be like, go hide so I can have my friends over, you know? So we know that that's an interesting difference right there as well. We also saw when King Leonidas kind of panned out and looked out, we saw a bunch of people in the fields. So there was a lot of farmers there. It looked like a vast land, whereas in Athens, we saw like the agora and the marketplace and the city center. So lots of different things about that. So as we go through these notes, I want you guys to kind of pinpoint what you're noticing different between Athens and Sparta. The document that you guys should have should look like this. So we already filled the language and religion in on Tuesday because it was the only thing that was the same as Athens. So if you guys did not get that they spoke Greek and they worship the same gods, please go ahead and write that here in the language and religion portion, okay? Because it is the same as Athens. So we're gonna move on to the location of Sparta. So we're gonna go ahead and share that right now. And, ooh, interesting. There we go, perfect. Sparta is actually located, wonder where my Sparta location slide is. Oh well, it's actually located on Peloponnesus. Go ahead and write Peloponnesus in to the location. I'm going to spell it for you so it's easy for you guys since the slide disappeared. It's Peloponnensus. So it's located on Peloponnesus. We've seen multiple maps of where Sparta is because we started with the geography of this area. So go ahead and write that in Peloponnesus. If you did not get that, I can message you later about it, but Peloponnesus, it's Peloponnensus. And then we're gonna go ahead and get right to the government in Sparta because the Peloponnesus slide just drifted away. All right. So the government in Sparta is based on a democracy. So we heard from the clip that there's a king, there's a queen, and we don't really hear that with a democracy. But take a look at how they have it controlled here. So if a small group is ruling, look, we have 5 overseers, 2 kings, a senate, an assembly. So it looks like they have a small group running the show. So Juliana, what is it called when a small group is in charge?
That's an oligarchy. Yeah.
Yeah, oligarchy. You're correct.
Yeah,
So while
yeah.
the government in Sparta is based on a democracy, ladies and gentlemen, they really have an oligarchy. If we kind of just narrow it down. So the 5 overseers, or the E4s, if you were to continue to watch the movie 300, which that was a clip from the movie 300, there is a scene when they're deciding if they should go to war with the Persians. And before they go to war, they actually seek out the E4s, which are like the 5 ancient kind of men who have seen it all, and they give advice. So the 5 overseers, they ran the day-to-day operations. Remember, guys, you don't have to write everything that you see here unless you want to. So if you just want to put day-to-day operations for the 5 overseers, you can. 2 kings, they split up the duties. So while they ran everything, the kings were kind of just focused on the army. Maybe some religious things because they had that trust of the people, but the 2 kings commanded the army. We know Leonidas was one of those in Sparta for a short time. The council or senate, which makes it easier to understand when it's called the senate, is 28 men over 60. Okay, they acted as judges, proposed the laws. So they each kind of person had their own little thing they did. Okay, so going back to the 5 overseers, they ran the day-to-day operations. 2 kings focused on the army. The council or senate, they were kind of the judges. They helped with the laws. And then the assembly is all Spartan males aged 30 or over. And they can kind of join in and veto or support the decision from these guys, the Senate. So taking a look at your notes, okay, so we have a lot of members of Spartan government. So democracy, yeah, it's based on it. So I would just put based on a democracy, but really it's an oligarchy. The overseers, 5 people, there's just 5 of them. They ran day-to-day operations. Kings, there's 2. Okay, 5 plus 2. So far, we're still getting a small group. The Senate, 28 men, still pretty small.
35.
And then the assembly was that amount, over 30. So Evan or Juliana, do you foresee any questions coming from your classmates that you can predict they might have right now? Because that's a lot. Like the government of Sparta was very, it was complicated. Nothing? I heard somebody say, what do we write for democracy? I would say it's just based on a democracy.
Yeah.
It's based on a democracy. It's really an oligarchy. So Will, Jack, that's what I would write if I were you. Anyways, you can always go back. The notes are posted. So we're going to move forward to the purpose of society. So we know in Athens that they wanted their citizens to be well-rounded. They wanted them to be prepared for peace and war. But for Athens, or for Sparta rather, it looks like a lot, but I'm going to just shorten it up for you. Okay? Don't worry. Do not worry that you have to write all of this, because you don't. So in ancient Sparta, the purpose of society was to produce a well-disciplined marching army. Okay? That's it. A well-disciplined marching army. That's their purpose of society, folks. You don't see anything about reading or literature or music or anything like that, or like going in for democracy. Well drilled, well disciplined marching army. Boom. That is their purpose of society. So much different, right?
Wow.
Yeah. This down here goes to just tell you a little bit about Sparta. You don't have to write this down here, but it's really good to know that basically discipline, self-denial, what that means is they deny themselves food, they deny themselves shoes sometimes. They try to have as minimal as possible. They were loyal to Sparta. They were required to have perfect bodies, male and female. And this is really sad, but it's true. If when babies were born, they would get a knock on the door, and the people from the government would come and inspect the baby to make sure it was, going to be a perfect representation of Sparta. And if this baby had any flaws, if the baby had any something wrong with it, they would take the baby from the family and they would take it to a hillside and leave it to die. So they were not about to accept somebody into the society less than perfect, which is very sad to say because we're very accepting nowadays in our culture. But if the baby appeared to be flawed in any way, those people would take that baby, sometimes even toss it off a cliff and leave it to die. So
That is horrible.
isn't that awful?
That's me. Yeah. It's awful.
It's really crazy. So pop it into the comments, guys. What do you feel about that? Like when we're talking about which society do we prefer, that is definitely a thing that a lot of my students in the past consider when they're choosing the society to pick, to raise a family and to live in. So it's horrific, really. So that's one of the things that's kind of wait, I like Sparta, but this thing that they do is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I kind of have I can relate to that because my cousin he has a missing arm. So that would be like, oh, that's.
Yeah, it's
horrible.
Absolutely horrific.
Me.
Yeah, moving on, guys, we're going to go into education. The education of boys. Again, we've split it up from boys and girls, just like we did with Athens. And don't worry, again, I'm going to show you exactly what to write. It looks like a lot, but if you just listen, it'll be easy, okay? Where it says boys, right here, if you guys can see, all that you guys need to write is that military school starting at age 6 or 7. They started military school at age 6 and 7. So right here, where it says boys, that's when they started military school. They left their home at age 6 or 7 to do that, okay? They slept there, they trained there. They did not come home at the end of the day like we get to. Well, not really now, but we used to come home every day. Anyways, and then before that, they were taught at home by mom, and if dad was home, he would help too. What skills did they learn? Okay, so first thing, as you can see, there's 2 areas. So I'm going to break it down to 2 categories of what they learned. Okay, first thing, survival skills. First thing, they learned survival skills at age 6 and 7. If you want to write a little bit more here, you can, but it's really just important to know that they learned survival skills. Sometimes it was hard, painful. Yeah, they were taught they were just kind of sent out sometimes and told, come back, survive. So it's tough. The second thing that they learned, reading and writing, but keep in mind that those skills were not considered important to Spartans. While they were still taught that stuff, it was not considered important or vital to their purpose of society. So they were taught it, but didn't really go through. Okay. Only warfare mattered, if that's a thing. That's the only thing that mattered in Spartan society. Couple of things when they were doing survival skills. The boys were not fed well. They were told it was okay to steal. However, if they got caught stealing, that was bad. So they were told to steal, but don't get caught. If they were caught, they were beaten, and they marched without shoes to make the bottoms of their feet stronger in case they had to go without shoes. So it was a really tough training period for those 6 to 7 year old boys. It's kind of hard. Evan, what do you think about that as a young man having to go through that kind of training?
It's kind of like, that's hard. And even I'm trying to like get a nice 6-pack, but it's really hard. I can't imagine at 6 or 7 even just trying to do that. That's like tough.
Yeah, it's tough. Juliana, kind of from a female perspective, what do you think?
Like early, like I said, I was like at the bottom said it was brutal. I was very, very horrific.
Very horrific. Very, very horrific. You hit the nail on the head there. So here's a cool legend. I have it here in text, but I'll also kind of say it in my own words as well. If you came to my office hours, we kind of talked about this legend a few days ago because one of the times a Spartan boy was out. He was, told to go survive, and he stole a fox. And he planned to kill it. He planned to eat it, survival skills, right? You eat whatever is there. And he noticed some Spartan soldiers coming up to him. And he's like, oh no, I don't want to get caught. So it's worse if I get caught. I don't want to get beaten. So he hid the fox under his shirt. You guys can see the photo right here. He hid the fox underneath. And these soldiers were confronting him. They were questioning him on what he was doing, what he's doing out. And he's all the while thinking oh my God, I can't get caught. I can't get caught. So the fox starts to chew away at his stomach. And the Spartan boy, you're not allowed to show fear. You're not allowed to show emotion because again, you get questioned. So he, rather than confess, he stood still and let the fox eat away at his stomach. How crazy is that? How scared must you have been at a young age to not be able to confess that, to not be able to deal with that every day? That's wild. So that's part of a Spartan legend. Did it happen? I don't know. Just like a lot of myths and things like that. So it's just an interesting story just to prove how tough those boys had it back then, because they were just even their emotions were kind of taken from them, which is really sad. Anyway,
What imagination?
Say that again.
What about imagination?
Right.
Oh.
Remember, trained for military, trained for war. Yep. That's their life. That is their life. Moving on to secondary education. For most of us, this is on the second sheet that we printed. So as you can see, 6 to 7, there's no secondary school. It goes right into military training. So bear with me here, guys. I'm going to go slow, but as you can see, there are 4 categories here, 4 little answers. So I'm going to tell you what to put in each one. Okay. The question here is for military training, you don't need to write anything, but what was expected of the men in the military? Number 1, what was expected? Well, at 18 to 20 years old. Okay, go ahead and write for number 1, 18 to 20. So guys, that means they're in training up until age 18. They leave the home at 6. They live there, they stay there up until age 18. That's a long time. Yes, they get to come home. Yes, they get to visit, but they're there. So starting at age 18, they have to pass a fitness test. This is still number 1. pass a fitness test, and kind of like a test that shows their military ability. Like, are you able to lead? Are you able to command people? So they take this test, okay? That's number one. If you just want to put, they take a test, you can, if that's easier for you, okay? Number two, there are some things that happen after you guys take a test. You know that. You can pass, you can fail, you know. So here's what happens when they get those results back. Number two, if they passed, they became a full Spartan citizen. If they passed the test, this is number two, passed, they became a full Spartan citizen. So that's kind of what every young boy in Sparta wants to achieve, is that citizenship. They want to be accepted. So that's number two. All right. Now, number three is if they did not pass. Yikes. So we kind of already know kind of how scary it is in Sparta, or like how strict and the expectations they have. So number three, if they don't pass the test, they become a part of the middle class. They become a part of the middle class. They're not a citizen. They're not a citizen. They have very, very few rights, folks, ladies and gentlemen. They do not become a citizen if they fail this test, okay? They could, you know, have property, they could own their business, but again, very, very little rights if they don't pass. So most people tried to pass this test, okay? Number four, this kind of just goes on what happens, you know, through their life in the military as a citizen, if they do make it that way. They spend their lives in the military, staying on site, living with the soldiers till age 60. That's 60. 60. That's number four. They stay in the military to age 60. Evan, what's your comment on that?
I just am like, so my grandpa, he's like 60 right now, and he was in the military, and it's like he has like back issues and stuff.
Yes.
Like, how do you that? I don't understand. Why would you do that to someone? That's just like horrible.
Yeah, but
You
Evan,
life.
think about it. Their purpose of society is to be trained in the military. This is what they do. This is their life. They enjoy this. This is what they wanted. So, but just imagine, it's so crazy. And usually in class, if we were in a classroom setting, everybody would be freaking out, you know, oh my God, that's crazy. And even in the chat right now, I'm seeing like people just like, what is going on? Wow. Oh my. So it's very similar to the classroom. Keegan, your question, do they see their families? Yes, they're able to go home for like maybe holidays and things like that, little break, military break. So they do get to see their families, but for the same time, they are there for the most part. That is their life. So that's a good question.
Maybe their fun is like who has the biggest six pack, or who can like.
Yeah, they have to do little things to keep laughing all day. I'm sure they get really creative with what they do. Yeah. So that's that. So that's the life of a male in Sparta. Okay. So 6 and 7, going off to military school. They're there. They're training. They're doing their thing. And then they take a test. This test determines their future, and it can go one way in the road or another way in the road, and that determines what they do in life. And then if you don't pass, you don't have rights, you're not a citizen. If you do, you're in the military till age 60. So that, in a nutshell, is a male citizen. Moving on to female, I'm very excited to let you know there's a lot more information for a Spartan female when it comes to their education and their daily life. So we are here in our notes where it says the daily life and education of girls. So notice side by side with Sparta and Athens, Athens has 2 things, Sparta has 5. So we have 5 little places to write some stuff down. So again, thank you for paying attention, as I'll try to go through as slow as I can with the daily life of girls and then the daily life of women after that.
That's a cool suit there.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
If I was able to present this PowerPoint how I wanted to, it all moves. All the things are animated. So, but I can't do full screen, unfortunately. Anyways, in Sparta, number 1 for the females, they go to military school at age 6 and 7. What?
Yay. Oh, wait. Is that yay or no?
Well,
Because
they get equality. No matter if it's a boy or girl, they
Yay.
both get sent to military school. Juliana, let me hear your reaction. Woohoo! Or not. It's okay. Girl power.
Yeah.
I'll say it for you. If anybody else is out there, like, feminists, like, yay, we get
Girl
the equal
power.
rights.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, woo woo. So in Sparta, girls also go to school at age 6 and 7. They live there, they train there, and they were taught skills, not really as awful as survival, like go out and just live, but they were trained. They were taught wrestling, gymnastics, combat skills. After all, if their men were off fighting a war, who had to hold down Sparta while they were gone? The females, right? So they were trained to fend off things like that. So number 1, sent to military school, age 6 and 7. Go ahead and write that if you haven't already. Seeing that in a lot of notes is really, it's kind of like, okay, good. If this seems harsh to you, if you're like, oh, that's not fair, that's a girl, that's, they should not be doing that. Maybe you prefer Athens. Maybe that's a telltale sign that you like Athens, because if you're like, oh no, like they should not be doing that. That's not fair. So there you go. They might tell you what you feel. Number 2, I guess I kind of lumped this into number 1, but for number 2, if you just want to write what they were taught, gymnastics, wrestling, combat skills, you can write that for number 2. If you wrote it for number 1, just kind of encircle it all. But number 2, I can't do my hands. Number 2, they were taught wrestling, gymnastics, and combat skills. Okay, so number 2 kind of tells what they learned. If you guys are looking ahead at the next bullet point, you might see that they also had to take a test that determined their future. So for number 3, at 18, they take a test. That's all you have to write for number 3. At 18, they take a test. And then, of course, 4 and 5 will come in to tell us what happens if they pass or they don't pass. Victoria, what do you have to say about this so far?
Okay, so I think this is really interesting, and how normally, like, if there was some sort of war happening, the men would just be like, okay, ladies, sit down and look pretty. We're off to fight. And now, imagine if there was some really smart people that were like, okay, we're going to have someone attacking the Spartan men and then a group attacking the main town or whatever. Then the ladies would be like, oh, heck no. And they would take out all their wrestling skills and everything they learned and it would be really great. So essentially, I think it's awesome that they also have their own way and they also have their own school. And even if even if you think that girls shouldn't be having to do that, at least you don't guarantee that they're going to fight. There's no guarantee.
Sure.
But there is a chance that they will, which I think is really cool that they also get. the equality that they deserve. Yeah, battle equality.
Yay. Thank you, Victoria, for saying that. That's something that we needed right now at this moment. So great job. All right. The moment you've all been waiting for. What happens if they pass? What happens if they fail? So number 4, okay, if they passed, they were allowed to go home. Yay. They could go home if they passed. That's number 4. So while they go home, maybe they find a husband. By the way, they probably match. They're most likely to match husbands, like have arranged marriages, than anything, because guess what? Their agenda in Sparta was to have perfect bodies. So you take this really perfect person and this really perfect person, and then you make a even more amazing perfect person. So they tried to arrange their marriages then to do that. But when they went home, they got married, they had a family, they stayed at home and did all that stuff. However, if they failed, this is number 5.
Oh no.
Oh no. If they failed, she lost her rights as a citizen, as a person, and became a member of the middle class. So think about it. If a male failed and then a female failed, they probably find each other and stay in the middle class. So that's kind of what happened. So if she fails, she loses all of her rights and kind of goes down. So that's the sad part. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's what happens in women's daily life. Remember, if you guys didn't get any of that, you can always come back to the PowerPoint. It's a lot. And then for daily life of women, let me go ahead and just show you. It's just a tiny little square. And I don't have it on a slide. But if you guys want to write things here, such as they're free to move around, they have freedom around the city, they don't have to stay at home. Their husbands, you guys know, they're rarely home. They're living in the barracks. They're living in wherever military bunkers are. So they really are the ones that are moving around. They're the ones that are doing everything. They have that freedom. Okay, they're respected. So that's what I would pop in to the daily life of women. However,
So they kind of have more freedom than the men.
well, yeah, in a way they did. Even though they were like kind of the protectors of the cities when the men weren't there, the men would often come home too, because if they had kids, you know, they want their kid to see their father and, you know, even get some training and advice from their father too. So it wasn't like they never saw the husbands or never saw the men. They were away a lot. So for, again, daily life of women, Evan, what did you write just to give your classmates a perspective?
Like, what did I write for the daily life of women?
Yeah.
Oh, I just wrote that, right, they got to go and move around a lot. They got to go outside. They're respected a lot. And I can't read my own handwriting.
That's okay. That sounds like you got something like really good stuff. So if anybody was concerned about like, what do I write here? Just, you know, like they were free. They were free to roam. They had rights. They were respected. And that brings us to our last slide of the day. And it was about Spartan slaves. Very similar to Athens, Sparta did rely on slaves. Those people were called helots. So basically what helots are, there's a little spot you can see in your notes here. Ooh, those are conquered people. So if Sparta went to war and they fought somewhere, they took these people as their prisoners. So helots are just conquered people, or people defeated in battle. However you guys want to write it is fine. Okay, there's 3 things that I want us to know about Spartan slaves before we wrap it up. So listen closely. This was the last little bit of the note. So yay, we made it almost. We're almost there. Number 1. Okay, number 1 for the notes. The slaves in Sparta were responsible for farming small plots of land. Okay, so they each kind of were assigned to a different plot. So they worked on small plots of land. Pretty easy. They helped with farming. That was kind of like what they did. The Spartans owned the land. they owned it, and then the slaves would kind of work on their specific area. Okay, and I think Braden had this question last lesson. Did they treat their slaves poorly? Were they mean to their slaves? In Athens, they're not, and in Sparta, they're not. They do give their slaves, you know, some rights and respect. So for number 2, part of the produce or part of the crops went to the master or whatever Spartan owned that land. Okay, and then for number 3, part of the crops went to the slave and their family. So you can see that they allowed them to have some of the crops and the food that they helped cultivate. So again, number 1, they farmed small plots of land. Number 2, part of the produce went to the owner, the landowner in Sparta, the master, if you will. And then number 3, the remainder went to the helot. Okay, remember, helot is a name for a slave, and his family. Okay? Give me a thumbs up if you guys are good, if you're done, if you are happy the notes are over. Yay, very good. All right, guys, remember, if you missed any part or you're like, I don't know what to write, the PowerPoint is up. There's 2 days worth of PowerPoints. You can always go back. It's okay if you write more than normal. That's totally fine. And I'm super excited to have that completed for you. So with that said, we're going to wrap things up today. I am going to show you guys what you should be working on for the rest of today, because we have an hour after this lesson for you guys to work. What I have done is I actually put your work in order of importance. So if you ever wonder, like, oh, what should I be doing first? Like, what do I do first? And what's okay if I do towards the end? So I've ranked what you should do. Number 1 being the most important thing, like do this first, maybe take a break, but go do this first, and then go down the line, okay? So number 1, what do you do today? There is something due, and I am gonna give you guys points, like points in EDSB for doing this. So if you send me a message, you might get 20 points for, it's like a little homework assignment. And it's really important to send me a message on what city-state you prefer. And don't just send Sparta. Like, don't just send me a message that says Sparta, okay? I need you guys to write 2 specific reasons why you're leaning towards that city-state, okay? So I pick Athens because this, and this, and this, and this. I'll give you a hint, guys. I'm going to be choosing debate leaders for Monday. You'll obviously get a message if you're chosen, but the people who kind of give me the most information about why they like it, who give me detail, who give me complete sentences, I'm going to kind of look to those people to lead, as opposed to someone who writes Sparta, war, military. Like, so really, really tell me very specific reasons why you're leaning towards that city-state. I'm going to gather that information that I get from you guys, and I'm actually going to split you guys up into breakout sessions so you're with people that you like. So all the Spartans will be together, all the Athenians will be together, and you guys will be able to chat, and then I'll be unmuting you guys as you go to debate. So we'll get more specific on Monday on how that's going to go, but remember, we're learning, so bear with us, and thank you for everything. Number 2, I highly recommend to practice the lesson game on TCI, chapter 27. So after you send me that message, pop onto TCI, practice the lesson game. It's going to be your test grade on Monday. Okay, so after our debate on Athens and Sparta, you're going to have to go and take that test for a test grade, because we're moving on to chapter 28 on Wednesday. Okay, next, after you guys practice once or twice, go to IXL, skill I-4, like the highway, I-4, how we get to Orlando. Okay, that should be how you remember it. I-4 is part 2 of Athens and Sparta. I actually took this skill last night. This skill is awesome. It really, really helps justify the lesson and the notes for today. So go pop on and take that skill. If you haven't taken I-3, that's part 1, take it. It's good practice. And then last thing, guys, if you're like, I did this, you can always review your notes. You can always reread the chapter in TCI. You can even do your own self-research. If you're like, oh my gosh, like I really love Athens. Like it really solidified this. I'm gonna look stuff up. You guys can do your own self-research. It might even help in the debate one day. So here's the order of importance of activities to do. You guys have over an hour to do that. And I look forward to hearing from you and your messages on what city-state you're preferring after our notes. So thank you guys. Evan and Juliana, y'all did an amazing job today. Any kind of shout outs you want to give to anybody or any just kind of last words?
Shout out to Kate Murdoch.
All right, awesome.
That's the first person I saw on here. Hi.
All right, thank you, Juliana, and hey to Kate. Evan, what about you? Oh no, I hope we haven't lost Evan, but on his behalf, I'll just say, great job. I'm going to shout out on Evan's behalf to third period, represent. And again, Bella, thank you for opening today with such a wonderful quote. We appreciate it. Anything that you guys have, real quick, pop it in the chat. I'll get to you, I'll answer you. And you guys did a really great job today with the notes. Again, the clip was from the movie 300. I'll post that too if you guys want to watch it. However, if you want to watch the full movie, ask a parent ahead of time. All right. Have a beautiful Thursday, everybody. Good luck with all of your history work. I look forward to hearing from you later. All right, guys, peace out. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you in office hours, which are being held today from 2 to 3. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful day. Bye. Hope you guys had a good Earth Day yesterday. Peace out.